Welcome back, everyone, to Insider Gaming. Senior Editor Mike Straw here, and I'm pleased to be joined by lead level designer of Sniper Elite Resistance at Rebellion, Beck Shaw. Beck, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me here.
No worries, thanks for having me. Exciting.
So I'll dive right into it. Sniper Elite Resistance, its story runs parallel to the events of Sniper Elite 5. A lot of people were kind of surprised that we were getting a new Sniper Elite as quick after 5 came out. What was the idea of keeping everything kind of close to the events of 5 a big reason to allow the game to be released less than 3 years from the release of 5 when you had 4 to 5 take 5 years?
Yeah, so I guess to begin with, we had a really good feedback from Sniper Elite 5, and the fans really resonated with the game. They really enjoyed it. It was a big jump from 4 to 5, like you were saying. It took 5 years to create. And we kind of wanted to obviously do more with the Sniper Elite franchise, but to do the big jumps we want to do technically or gameplay-wise, story-wise, it takes a long time. So having, I guess, another game come out, which is using the same engine, the same core gameplay loop from Sniper Elite 5, it allows us to bring out another game that players can enjoy in a shorter time frame whilst we work on other things as well in the background. It lets us explore new characters as well. So in this game, we've got Harry Hawker as the main character rather than Carl, which players probably know and love from the previous Sniper Elite games. So it lets us explore new things as well. And obviously, France is a big place, and the war was huge there. So it lets us explore new locations as well that we didn't get to explore in Sniper Elite 5.
Was there any worry or concern about the reception of going that route, thinking maybe people just view this as just an expansion, I guess, to Sniper Elite 5, or I'm assuming kind of you had those types of focus groups and things like that to figure out if this was the way to go?
So we feel like with Sniper Elite Resistance, people are going to get the value for money anyway. Like in Sniper Elite Resistance, we've got a full campaign in there with the multiplayer, with the invasion mode as well, with turn-in. But we've also got new things like the propaganda mode, which propaganda challenges, which is something new that players didn't experience in Sniper Elite 5. So they're getting a full product basically, and we feel it'd be worth people's money.
So I'll talk about real quick. We're filming this after I was able to get my hands on with the game, playing the game's third mission. And the one thing that I noticed immediately compared to past Sniper Elite games, and it's a very obviously familiar feeling if you've played the series before, very familiar to Sniper Elite 5, which Sniper Elite 5 to me was a great game. So I like that personally.
Thank you.
But you see, how difficult was it with these environments? Because they feel the same in a way, but they look the same in a way, but they feel drastically different. How was that developing, without giving spoilers away, developing these new areas of France to make sure that it does give the players that different feel of what they're exploring in these maps? Yeah,
so when we're exploring like locations where we want to set levels, like obviously our levels aren't as huge as other games, like, for example, Call of Duty, Warzone and stuff like that, and PUBG. Our maps aren't that big. So we look at like a location or an area in the world, and what are the key features or landmarks that we'd like to get into that level, or from that area into a level. So we kind of condense an area of France down into a smaller map. So we take like locations that we like to look at, or things that we think might be fun for gameplay. And then there's also things we wanted to do in Sniper Elite 5 that we couldn't do because we didn't have enough levels or space to put them in levels. So we could explore things we wanted to do previously as well.
What are some of those things that you wanted to explore that doing this with the same engine and the same setting and that you're able to do with Resistance?
So we did learn a lot from Sniper Elite 5 as well. And obviously, all our games, we have tried to evolve the level design and the gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. So we just want to take what we learned from SE5 and build upon it. So all these new locations they're all iconic and really cool to look at. You've probably seen a few in the trailers, but obviously you played with the Mission 3 as well, which I think is quite iconic in itself as well. And hopefully all the levels will stand out a little bit. And players will remember, oh, this is the level where we do X, this is the level where we do Y, and it's like Spy Academy in Sniper Elite 5, which is really striking and visually impressive. The one with the big cathedral at the top of the hill. If you remember that one. So yeah, we're hoping that a lot of the levels in Sniper Resistance will have that kind of feel and be quite iconic.
One thing I noticed playing, and this goes back to past Sniper Elite, is there's no one set way to attack a mission that you're doing.
Yeah.
How important is that? I noticed that playing, like Definition of Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And early on in my play, I found myself, you know what, I'm determined to make it work this way, until you realize, no, I have to do something different. How important is that to allow, though, the player to make those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, to really get that full feel of completing each mission, rather than, no, it's a linear thing, no matter what, you have to do it the same way to succeed?
Oh, I think it's a core pillar for the Sniper Elite franchise. That is, like, being able to approach an objective or a POI from any direction. You can go in loud, you can snipe in first, you can go in stealthily and try and sneak around. I think that's something that players really enjoy, and we enjoy about creating levels like that. It gives us a lot of freedom with designing them. We can, okay, it'd be cool if we could do this, but what if players want to do this? And then we try and build it, mash it all together. Some areas we might try and cater more towards a stealthy player style. Some areas might try and cater more towards a sniping play style. But yeah, we just want to give players the tools to, tackle any mission in any way they want to. I think it's a lot of fun when you give players that sandbox feel in the levels.
The propaganda challenges, what was the inspiration, I guess, behind adding those to Resistance?
So they're short little challenges. I guess I'll explain what they are a little bit. They're short little challenges set in the levels of where you find a collectible. So in each mission during the campaign, there's a propaganda poster hidden in the level somewhere. And then when you collect that, you can go back to the front end after you've completed the mission and enter the challenge. It kind of lets us also explore some new characters, because in these challenges you don't play as Harry, you play as a resistance fighter. And each challenge has its own little, what's the word? Think of the word. I can't think of the word. Basically, there's like sniping challenges, there's stealthy challenges. So basically, they're small little gameplay sections set inside those missions where we try to challenge players to maybe not play the way they normally play. So, for example, if someone doesn't play stealthy very often, they'll get a stealthy challenge and think, I don't normally do this, but I'll give it a try. And then maybe they'll enjoy it and then go and try stealth more during the campaign, and that they'll replay. And it gives players the opportunity to just explore new avenues. But with the challenges as well, you'll get a score based on how you play. And we imagine that the community is going to try and challenge each other to try and get the highest score, which will, again, add to replayability and just get people talking about the game and just sharing their experiences.
So you mentioned Sniper Elite Resistance has its own separate campaign. It has, the multiplayer. It has everything you'd expect from a Sniper Elite game. Yep. But there's still, because of the branch and the similarities to 5, the same overall general setting, how do you go about, especially when it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about the maps, but how do you go about making it feel still like a fresh experience, to where players aren't going into the game and going, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour in, go, I've played this before. Like, this is nothing new to me.
Yeah, I think we have expanded a few mechanics there. So there's some new like grenade types and stuff like that. So there are some slight changes and tweaks. And I think with the missions as well, like they are all brand new locations. We're not reusing anything from Sniper Elite 5 in terms of the levels. So I think just having more locations to kill Nazis in is going to let players expand on or explore new ways to do things, and just and with the level designers as well, they know what they can do now because we've done it before in Sniper Elite 5. So hopefully the mechanics and the level design is more advanced, and players will enjoy it a little bit more.
What are the biggest, with this franchise being, it's been around for over a decade now, which is insane to think, because I remember being in my early 20s playing the first one, and then it's crazy when you blink and, next thing you know, you have a long running franchise. What is the, I don't want to say motivation, or like just challenges, I guess, of making sure to keep things fresh for players and figuring out, because as you keep going, it could get tougher to really bring that new experience.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from with that, but I think with Sniper Elite, we don't always, I guess, tackle the most well-known sections of the war. So we try and, when we're doing our research, try and look at, obviously we look at the popular media, like, you know, things like Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers and stuff like that. But, you know, everyone's seen that kind of stuff. Yeah. So when we're looking, we'll look at the lesser known side of the war, so like the secret weapons. So we've got SOE, which, you know, supplies Harry and Carl with their advanced weaponry and stuff like that. And we just try to tell those stories that people might not know, and go to locations you don't generally see in, you know, the mainstream media, which I think is quite interesting. Yeah, like the locations we've seen in Sniper Elite 5 and Resistance, you don't generally see very often. So it's nice to explore those lesser known locations from the war.
When you're creating the levels, this is more geared towards your side of things. When you're creating these levels and these new maps, how are you going about? How is it to build them? Are you looking at visuals from the wars, from like maps? How do you get that design idea of this is exactly how it needs to look, how it needs to feel, how it needs to flow?
So I guess in the beginning we always set a set location. So France, for example, and we'll look at maybe there's some key battles or operations that happen during that time, and if there's anything interesting there which we can tie into our story, because the story's kind of set early on during development, so we know where we need to go. If any of those locations would fit that kind of storyline, you know, is there anything interesting there that we can do? Is there anything iconic? Is there anything that lends itself towards stealth or sniping? Is there a cool tower or a lighthouse or something that we want to really use? And then sometimes we will go to locations as well. So during Sniper Elite 5, I went to Saint Nazaire, where there's a big sub-pen. I don't know if you remember the final mission for Sniper Elite 5, which is based on that. So we do send people out to, you know, get a sense of the scale, get a feel for the location, and you do get a lot of inspiration from visiting those locations. But then obviously we do need to keep in mind all the different play styles. So when we create our white boxes, which is basically a very basic version of the map, we make sure the scale's right. We make sure a thing's going to be performant. So we need to make sure that we're blocking certain views off, so we're not rendering too much in the game later on. But we need to make sure, obviously, we're getting all that different gameplay in there. So is there enough high points? Is there enough open vistas? Do we have enough space for the AI to move around and not, you know, get dragged in? If you have a fight somewhere, you're not going to drag all the AI away from somewhere else. So there's a lot of things we need to consider during the development. But I think it's a fun challenge, and a lot of the level designers, I really enjoy working on these levels because we give them full freedom.
Yeah.
They'll get given a brief. You know, you need to go to this location. We need X, Y, Z to happen. But after that, you can add any optional objectives you want to add. You can put AI where you need them. We can move things around, and we work really closely with the art team as well, because we want to make sure these levels look really nice. And I think over the past few games, we've really stepped up in terms of art as well, how good these levels look.
Speaking of AI, with certain games, you run into the issue with AI where when difficulty increases, it just means it takes more shots to kill them. You know, the bullet sponge theory, as opposed to, you know, they react and play different. When it comes to the enemies and the AI in Sniper Elite, how is that difficulty managed to make them act different, act smarter, depending on what you want to play?
So, yeah, you mentioned a few things there. So quicker reaction times is one thing. Better sight and hearing abilities is also something else we do. That also work better as a squad in later difficulties, so they might flank you more, that they might lay down cover fire more, but also in lower difficulties they might pop their head up more, or they might move around less to give you more chance to snipe them. So I think we do play back with health a little bit, but it's not to the level where you need to take, you know, 5 sniper shots to kill a guy where it should be 1. Generally the AI are pretty fragile, like Carl is, and obviously we want to kick off those nice body cams, so you don't want to keep shooting some guy in the head and it's just, you know, his skull's impenetrable. But yeah,
I mean, you never know. There's a juggernaut head. Some people got big heads. The cam, the sniper cam, the kill cam is one of the more unique features of the franchise. It's literally what a lot of people think of when they think of Sniper Elite at first,
Yeah.
are those satisfying kills. How do you work as a team to keep those fresh to where it's like, oh, it's the same thing. We're seeing the same exact one every single time. Like, just keeping things fresh for players. I know that's kind of just, I think what a lot of people like, before I played it, that was a concern of mine. Luckily, it felt there was enough variety there to where you feel like a new experience. But how do you go about, making those decisions to be like, all right, this needs to be, we need a few more things here. We need a few more things there.
So yeah, there's a lot of systems which go into play when the bullet comes being created. So obviously there's audio. So is there something we do with audio? And the team they'll take like celery and twist it and make all those gory sounds, bone breaking sounds, and take watermelons and squash them and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of envious of the audio team because they get to have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. But obviously then there's art as well where you can add more blood PFX. We can add more detail to the organs breaking, more bone shards coming off. I think with the animation team as well that we work out on like new camera angles for the bullets traveling and then entering and leaving. And just there's a lot of effects and VFX that all goes. There's a lot of teams which feed into that. It's not my area, so I'm not 100% sure on all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of things we can do to try and keep it interesting, like stylize it a little bit, and just keep it fresh. And like you say, I think we're doing a decent job over the years. They don't feel too samey all the time, and obviously there's a lot of places you can shoot Nazi, so there's a lot of different body cams. So yeah.
What's your, if you were to narrow down maybe to one or two things with Resistance that you really are proud of to see come, that you were able to make tweaks and changes to from 5, and even going back to maybe 4, something way back then you couldn't. What would you say was like your one or two favorite things you were able to get in?
Obviously being a level designer, the levels for me, like just more locations and giving the team that chance again to explore their creativity in some of these locations. So I think for me I think the levels they're really good. And I think from 4 onwards they've been great. But yeah, also invasion mode is quite cool. I really enjoy invasion mode, and I think the community do as well. So we've made a few little tweaks there to try and make it a bit more engaging and balance it a little bit more.
Do you have any advice for when players pick up this game early next year? If you're listening to this, when the game's out, when they pick it up right now. But do you have any advice of how people should maybe attack Resistance, and maybe if they've had a specific style in the past that maybe change up how they would approach, their experience?
Say, I would definitely look out for workbenches so you can get more weapon unlocks, so you can customize your guns more. Like customizing your guns in Sniper Elite can really change your playstyle. So obviously, if you're usually a loud sniper, maybe try putting some silencers on your weapons and reducing your audible range so AI can't hear you as much, and maybe just try and play them a bit more stealthy. Can really mix up your gameplay, and on multiple playthroughs, just try different playstyles and give the invasion a go, because it's a lot of fun trying to hunt down a Harry or a Carl in the level, messing up someone else's game, I guess. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, that cat and mouse gameplay. You should really give it a go.
I can speak to the changing up the playstyles for sure. When I was playing, usually I'm a very run and gun type of person. That's just how I am. The first 20 minutes of my session, none of it worked. So all right, I guess I have to work my way around. And I finally made progress when I started to really be sneaky, stealthy, assassinate people and go my way. So, I mean, I can attest to the fact, try different play styles because it works. Beck, is there anything else that players should know about Resistance before they get their hands out that may be on the fence of whether or not picking it up after the events of 5 is worth it for them?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd probably go back to invasion mode again. I think if you enjoyed invasion mode in SE5, I think you're really going to enjoy it in SER. It's just, I think invasion mode is a great mode, and just more of that. I'd be happy with that myself, to be honest. I really enjoy that mode. I'm more of a competitive gamer myself, generally, but it's fun hunting people down.
Well, Beck, I want to thank you for joining me here. Sniper Elite Resistance launches January 30th, 2025. Again, if you're watching this after the fact, you can pick it up on Xbox Series X, Xbox One, Windows, and available on Game Pass. Beck, thank you again for joining me.
That's been great. Thanks for having me.